Shall we go ahead and get started, everyone? I think it's 1 minute after 1, so I guess have people straggle into the far reaches of Concourse B once we get started. So my name is Ryan Jones. I'm the program manager responsible for the Common Data Service, and so today we're going to be chatting about what's new in the Common Data Service. Before we dig in too deeply, how many of us have had an opportunity to meet before or chat before? Either you've attended one of my presentations or we've chatted on the expo hall. Okay, not too many of you. So let me introduce myself. I'm fairly new to the PowerApps and Dynamics space. They imported me from Azure land about 1.5 years back. And I like to say that I put the fun in fundamentals. This is one of many bad jokes I will tell you for the rest of the session today, and so just go ahead and practice laughing. But really, I think a lot about what does it mean for us to really make the Common Data Service rock solid, because we realize that you and your customers bet their businesses on the Common Data Service. So how do we make sure that we're available, that we're always on, that we're always running 24/7, 365? How do we make sure that we're able to provide the performance that you and your customers need so that applications and business processes are responsive, the way people expect them to be in a world of Facebook and Uber and so on and so forth? How do we make it supportable so that when things go wrong, so that when things break, you're able to quickly and easily remediate them, fix them yourself, refer those items to your administrator, or if needed be, engage Microsoft and Microsoft support in a productive and non-frustrating manner. Item number 4, how do we secure your data? Because we realize that your customer data is the crown jewels of your business. It is literally what, it is a competitive advantage, and we want to make sure that that is secured and only accessible to you and the right folks within your organization. And then the final item is efficiency. If you happen to be a Microsoft shareholder, it's important that we don't spend an absolute fortune running the Common Data Service. Otherwise, we won't be able to generate the return on investment that we need to for Microsoft. The other thing that my team focuses on quite a bit is we have this portfolio of technologies that are truly amazing, whether it's PowerApps, Canvas apps, or model-driven apps, or flows, or AI Builder, or the Common Data Service. How do we bring these things together to be a part of a single cohesive portfolio that helps you build integrated experiences, applications, and business processes? And should you ever need to get a hold of me, that's my Twitter handle. You can also search for me on LinkedIn using RJMax, or my email address is there at the bottom of the screen. One important note, if your site is down, don't send me an email. I'm usually 2 to 3 days behind. So now that we have that out of the way, I want to learn a little bit more about you. Because here at the Business Application Summits, we have so many people that come from different backgrounds. And so I want to understand who is in the session today so that I can try to better tailor the content and what we're going to discuss for you and for your needs. So how many of you are Dynamics, XRM, CE folks, been around that side of the business for a long time? Okay, lots of you. Okay, how many of you are PowerApps people? Oh, okay, lots of you both raise your hands, so that's good. That means I don't have to talk about that, so that's great. Any Power BI folks out there? Okay, anybody that didn't raise their hand? Okay, I'm curious. Can you just give me a shout out as to kind of your background so I can better understand, just real quickly? Okay. Okay, excellent. So a few F&O folks in there or out there, wonderful, wonderful. So excellent. Let's proceed. So first of all, I want to talk about what is the Common Data Service. The Common Data Service, number 1, easily structures. Number 2, a variety of business data. To number 3, support interconnected business applications and processes. When we look at the Power Platform and how our connectors allow us to interact with all sorts of different data sources, you might ask, well, wait a second, why do I want to put my data in CDS? Well, there's a couple of key reasons. Number 1 is we allow you to easily bring structure to data, structure that in many cases is much stronger than what you might be able to do in an Excel sheet or in a SharePoint list or those sorts of things. Number 2, we allow you to store a variety of business data. And this is one of the major areas of investment for us over the last several months in the Common Data Service. Because historically, we've stored persisted relational data. Data that would typically go into a SQL server, MySQL server, Postgres, Oracle, to pick your poison. but one of those. And we've been investing a lot to support other types of data beyond just what you would typically place into one of the relational stores. And then part number 3 is to support interconnected business applications and processes. Because what we find is when we look to drive digital transformation of companies where one application or one business process drives another, it's very, very difficult to make this work end to end when your entire life is spent in ETL, copying data between one system and another. It's much easier to digitally transform businesses and allow or to create a virtuous cycle between one business and another when that data resides in the same place following a common schema. And so that is the goal behind the common data service as well as the common data model. And we'll talk more about the common data model here in a little bit. Now, one of the common questions that I'm asked is, well, what's the difference between Power Platform and PowerApps and the common data service? And to be completely honest with you guys, the title of our session today, as it was in the session catalog, doesn't help because it says Microsoft PowerApps, what's new in the common data service? The common data service is not a part of PowerApps, the product. PowerApps licenses include entitlements to the common data service, but they're 2 distinct products. And so let's talk about each of these 3 different things so that we can describe how they relate to one another. Number 1 is I have a big box right there. We'll call everything in the box the Power Platform. I know we're supposed to think outside the box. Today we're going to think inside the box for a little bit, okay? Sorry to disappoint you there. So inside of that box, we have CDS. By the way, look at that snazzy new CDS logo. You guys like that, huh? You can steal this and put it in your PowerPoint presentations from now on. And so around CDS, we have the various components of the Power Platform: PowerApps, AI Builder, Power BI, and Flow. All of these things are a part of the Power Platform. And I know that I am biased, but I put CDS in the center because I believe that very similar to what we learned in chemistry and physics class, remember when you studied atoms, how you had the nucleus in the middle formed of, here, quick quiz, what's in the nucleus? Protons and neutrons, yes. Maybe, so we have the nucleus there with CDS, and then we have the electrons orbiting around this, right? So you have business processes with Flow. You have amazing experiences with PowerApps. You have insights from Power BI. You have intelligence from Power AI, all built on and around the data that resides in the common data service. And so, actually, mainly because of a lot of work from you guys, common data service now runs 100% on Azure. How many of you have recently participated in customer-driven upgrade for your CDS or dynamic CE environment? Okay, not as many hands went up as I thought, but for those of you that did raise your hands, thank you, because we are now running on one version for CDS across our entire customer base. And what this allows us to do is unify the ecosystem around a single version of the platform and the product. And so we now have a regular biannual release cadence where we update CDS so that we're able to keep everybody in lockstep with one another. And it's a great and wonderful thing. And we're now running all of this in Azure. Well, historically, we actually were kind of a hybrid environment. Some stuff was in Azure, some stuff was in on-prem data centers, kind of like some of our competitors are today still. So if we look at what is in the common data service from an infrastructure perspective, first of all, we expose one endpoint, okay? When you interact with the common data service, there is an interface that you use to do so, and that interface is consumed by a bunch of applications and services. What that means is there's a bunch of stuff inside of the box that you don't need to worry about, okay? And let's look at what those things are. The first thing that we have is our compute tier. There's a load balancer that routes traffic to our web servers, and then that bounces things to our sandbox servers and our reporting servers. You can think of our web servers as handling our API requests as well as serving up model-driven applications. At the bottom of the screen, we have our reporting servers, which run SQL Server reporting services for paginated reports. We then have our sandbox servers, which run custom code in a secure manner. We'll talk more about that later. And then we have our job servers that handle dispatching of asynchronous jobs. We then kind of jump over the wall into our data persistence layer. And so this is where we actually use a broad set of storage technologies to store your data in the best way possible. We have SQL Elastic Pools that we've used for a long time now. This is where you generally think of your CDS, Dynamics, PowerApps data going. But then we also now store much of this data in Azure Blobs, in Cosmos DB, indexes in Azure Search, based on the type of data it is. And you don't have to worry about, hey, I have this piece of data. Which storage service should it go to? We take care of that for you. You don't have to go through and spend $11 billion to stand up all of this infrastructure. We do that for you. And then when you find out, hey, I want to do some special things and I want to integrate with external services, we then have a rich eventing and extensibility story, which allows you to push information or push events into Azure Functions or app services using HTTP triggers, Service Bus, Event Hubs, or we can push information directly through Event Hubs or Service Bus to consumers of your choice. And then that one endpoint that we talked about earlier is consumed by the various services that we talked about earlier or the custom application that you build yourself. So, make sense? We all on the same page? I'll wait to change the slide. I never would have thought that everybody wanted a picture of this. By the way, one of the key points here, the idea behind this slide is not so that when you get home, you send an email and say, hey, Ryan, how do I get direct access to that Cosmos DB thing? Okay? Because you'll notice it's in the box. There's an endpoint that goes to the box. It doesn't go to the Cosmos DB. Okay? Right? It's also not so that 6 months from now, when there's a new amazing storage service in Azure that we think will help us serve your data with better availability, better security, better performance, so on and so forth, that I'm going to have a written email dialogue with each and every one of you around which storage services we happen to use within CDS, right? The idea is that we look at the data that you define, we determine the best way of storing it, and we do that for you in a secure, compliant, performant, and highly available manner. Make sense? By the way, there's one big error in this slide. This whole thing actually gets duplicated because we operate across geos for all of our CDS environments. So 2x this. It's just the screen wasn't big enough to fit it all, okay? So let's dig a bit more deeply into common data service storage. So historically, we've had relational or database storage. Well, now we have 3 different types of storage capacity. The first one is what you're accustomed to, database capacity for storing relational data. This would be where your accounts, your contacts, your leads, those sorts of entities are stored. The next type of storage capability that we have is file capacity, and this is where attachments or image and file data types are persisted. And then last but not least, we have our log capacity. This is where things like audit logs, plug-in trace logs, eventually some other interesting things will go as well. And so we determine where we place data based on the metadata or the way that you configure your entities in our system. Now, I don't want to turn this into a licensing session because you'll all leave and the only thing that you don't understand is I'll beat you to the door. So we're not going to talk about licensing too much, but I do want to touch on a few things. Number one is all of our new storage types have varying entitlements just like database capacity did, but at the tenant level, at the user level, and then we continue to have add-ons. Now, the other big change that we have is we price the different types of storage more or less based on what they cost for us to deliver them to you, okay? And so file storage is cheaper, as an example, than relational database storage is. And we've done the same thing for CE Plan as well. So all these slides, you can download them afterwards. Everybody that wanted to take pictures, did you get your picture? Okay, cool. Any licensing questions? Some other person will answer them for you. I'll direct you to that person after the session. So I want to talk a little bit about today's demo application, okay? Because we always have to do a demo, and I have to be honest with you guys, I spend a lot of hours at work, and so when I build demo apps, I like them to be fun, and I like them to remind me of why I work. So last year's demo app that I used was about a cupcake app where my little girls could request cupcakes and mommy and daddy could deny or decline. How many of you have seen the cupcake app before? Okay, so we're not gonna do cupcakes anymore because the app worked a little bit too well, and we're just not gonna do that anymore. But this year's app is a family photo travel app. And the idea is I have my family modeled as contacts in the system. Now, the contact entity is not something that I created. It's something that comes in a base CDS instance defined by the common data model. How many of you have heard about the common data model before? Okay, cool. So then I'll just keep it really short. The common data model is a predefined schema for commonly used business data. And it's modular, so you can pick and choose the different parts of the CDM that you want. And so contact, I have to admit, I was not brilliant enough to determine that a contact had a first name and a last name, but the CDM took care of that for me. Okay? I then have photos that come in. These are photos that we take during our family trips. And those photos are actually attached to the photo entity as an attachment. I then associate through a relationship those photos with the countries that we have visited so that I can render a choropleth of the various color-coded map of all the places that we visited as a family. And then one of these days, I will support tagging of people in those photos. I have to admit, I haven't been able to get a photo of my 3-year-old that's still enough for it to work with our Azure facial recognition technologies. They're always a little bit too blurry. But one of these days, this thing will have facial recognition and it'll tag the photos and everything for us. So how about we take a look at the application together? Right as my machine goes to sleep. Awesome. So I am in the new Maker experience. One of the major investments we've made over the last several months is ensuring that all the things that you need to build complex applications are in our first and best modern Maker experience rather than needing to go back to Solution Explorer, okay? How many of you used Solution Explorer before? How many of you guys want to continue using Solution Explorer? Okay, okay, no hands went up. Oh, okay, you do? Okay. So anyway. Sorry about that. Your hand raise really threw me off, sir. I'm sorry. So, entities, yes. Contact. So as I mentioned earlier, here's where I've included the contact entity in my solution. I have declared a dependency on this particular entity and these fields, the first name and the last name, because my app needs those things to be present. But once again, remember, I did not create this. This came from the contact entity that's available in the application common module of the common data model, okay? I wasn't smart enough to come up with this. Nirav did like 10, 20 years ago, something like that. So next entity I want to show you is my country entity. Now this country entity is a custom entity. I define this myself. And so it has name, string, required, nothing really special or interesting there, but it also has country code. That is actually the ISO 3166-1, 3-character country code for the particular country, because I wanted to have a standard way of looking at countries or what have you. And then I have a relationship from country to my photo that represents that relationship between the country and photo. It's optional because this relationship is created after we do some fun things with the photo that I'll show you here in a few minutes. And then based on that relationship, I'm able to have a roll-up field. And what a roll-up field is an aggregation of a given piece of data, so like sum, max, min, so on and so forth, over a relationship. And so what this does is this looks at the number of photos that we have in a given country. Make sense? And so some very basic data modeling here, but let's get into where it's fun and where there's new stuff. I'm going to go to my photo entity. And on my photo entity, I have country, which is that relationship. I have latitude, longitude, name. But if I go over to my entity settings, I've clicked this checkbox right here, which enables attachments. How many of you have used attachments before? It looks kind of like this when you use attachments, doesn't it? Like this looks very uneventful. But what's happening is we realize that for attachment information, that data it really doesn't make sense to put that in a relational store. And so what we've done is behind the scenes, behind our APIs, we've actually migrated, or technically we're in the process of migrating it right now. Some of it's in the old store, some of it's in the new store. But we move this data back and forth behind the scenes, but all the APIs just continue to work as they always have. The CDS APIs abstract away the implementation that we have behind the scenes. And this allows us to much more effectively, much more efficiently store this data and provide this data to you in a performant and highly available manner. Okay? So I know that may feel like a bit of an uneventful demo, but our VP said to me one time, the simplest demos are the most effective demos. I said, I want attachments, CDS new, nanu, like from Mork and Mindy. Was that Mork and Mindy where they went nanu? That should go into file storage and put it into the right spot. Cool, makes sense? Awesome. So I want to be completely honest with you guys. I have just scratched the surface around what we have going on around different types of storage in CDS. This is super, super, super exciting to us. And so Maya, Andreas, and Nathan are talking more about this. I believe it's tomorrow morning at 8:15. And so I'd highly, highly encourage you to catch their session where you can learn more about what we're doing with heterogeneous storage in the Common Data Service. So that concludes our brief section on data modeling. I now want to turn around and move into our discussion of custom logic and also no cliffs. So when we think about one of the other big benefits of CDS is we allow you to not only define your data, not only expose that information through APIs, but also define all sorts of custom business logic around that data. And we have more ways than you can imagine to express that custom business logic. We've got flows as a part of Power Platform. We've got workflows. We've got plugins. And you got like Azure functions floating around on the periphery. And so people ask me all the time, how many of you guys have ever wondered this? When should I use flows versus workflows versus plugins versus functions? Who's ever had that question? Okay, good. We're all being honest. Guess what? I ask myself the same question like 5 times a day, and usually the answer is, just go respond to some more emails and figure it out later. So it's kind of like those books where you pick your own adventure, but there are places where different types of extensibility have their strengths and weaknesses. And so what I've done here is I've drawn a little axis? Yeah, that's an axis, right? And so on the x-axis, we have synchronous versus asynchronous, and on the y-axis, we have declarative versus imperative. How many of you are familiar with declarative versus imperative programming? Okay, so to tell a quick joke, and hopefully to explain declarative versus imperative programming, declarative programming describes the goal state of a system, okay? While imperative programming tells you how you're going to get there. And so let's take a classic example, Shakespeare, okay? We all know Shakespeare, and like, let's take Hamlet as an example, okay? If we think about the imperative way of looking at it, what is the famous Hamlet quote? That is the question, right? And so the whole thing is us going through this adventure with Hamlet through this whole process, or I guess it's not with Hamlet, but you get the point. While the declarative way of programming is Hamlet shall be dead, right? It's not terribly interesting, but it can be very effective. And there's needs why you need to take these two different approaches. We don't want to be religious or about which option you choose. But we support both in our system, and we have different types of tools that lend themselves better to different styles of extensibility. And so if you need synchronous, and hey, we can make this a game. We can make this interactive. So out of flows, plugins, workflows, and functions, if you were to think which one works best for synchronous imperative programming, which one would you guess? Plugins. Ding, ding, ding. Good job. You get a t-shirt, assuming you already picked it up at the registration booth. Okay, so let's see. Our next one, synchronous and declarative. Which one there? Ding, ding, ding. Man, I hope you have a big bag to carry all those t-shirts. And then just to continue, for imperative and async, we have functions or plugins. And then for asynchronous and declarative, we have flows or workflows. Now, one important note here is functions. They do a bunch of things really great, like they support external assemblies, which is a key thing that plugins don't. However, when you use functions, they do use their own set of mechanisms for application lifecycle management, and so you'll want to keep that in mind. They aren't a part of solutions. And so I want to show you guys how I implemented custom logic in my system. So the problem that I had is I didn't want every person that used my photo application to need to come in and say, this photo was taken in this country, blah, 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 blah. But you guys probably have noticed in images taken with any modern camera, those photos include EXIF data, which includes GPS coordinates. And so what I was thinking was, if I could crack open this photo, get the EXIF data, I could then send the GPS coordinates to a service like Azure Maps. It could tell me what country I'm in, and then I can annotate the photo and make magic happen and so on and so forth. And so in this case, I have to admit, reading EXIF data involves like parsing a byte stream. Program manager, never going to happen. Never going to write that code successfully. And so I use an external assembly for doing that. Also, when I think about needing to shuffle images back and forth between the system, that's moving a lot of data. That's likely not a good thing to do synchronously. And so in this case, asynchronous, also there's not a declarative way that I could figure out how to do this. And so it's going to be either functions or plugins. And because I need external assemblies, which plugins don't support, I chose plugins. No, functions. Sorry. That didn't confuse things at all, did it? I think we're turning over a new leaf as a company. This is a no soda conference, and normally I'm highly caffeinated before I give one of these sessions, and I've only had one Coke Zero today. So let's pull up VS Code, where I have now, I know this is a 200 level session, and so we're not going to dig too deeply into the code that I wrote. However, more or less what I do is my function is triggered via information that's pushed into a service bus queue. Okay, and I configure that through the plugin registration tool. And specifically, I can show you, because my photos that I upload are modeled as notes or annotations, what I'm doing is I have registered service bus with the create on the annotation entity. And what that does is that passes a message along to my Azure function. My Azure function code I have up here in VS Code. And so let's see if I can remember what in the heck the code I wrote does. The first section, we handle a bunch of authentication stuff using standard ADAL patterns. We then turn around and parse that information, and then we retrieve the actual annotation itself. We then parse out from that the longitude and latitude, and we then turn around and we send that information to Azure Maps. Azure Maps returns a country code, which allows us to then look up with that country code, create an association between the photo and the country code, and then recalculate our roll-up, okay? I know I've not gone into all the depth, but logically makes sense as to what I did there. Were we good? Okay, awesome. And so that is, in a nutshell, in 30 seconds or less, custom code extensibility in CDS using Azure Functions. Now, that was like a complete crash course in how to do that. I can't do justice to all of the intricacies in choosing and optimizing the code. So Jim Dately from my team, he is giving a session tomorrow on optimizing custom code and plugins in the Common Data Service. And he's actually going to touch on some of the top errors that we see coming from our customers on a day-to-day basis as they write plugins and interact with the app, okay? I'm sorry, not interact with the app, interact with our service. So the next section that I want to talk about is peas and carrots. I guess a bit of a southern reference since we're here in Georgia, but our CDS and AAD go together in harmony. We think this is actually a very important, this guy right here, he's like, do you see the CDS in the logo? Yeah, it's there. But we really think that it's important that we respect the identity graph. And there's many ways where we've had opportunities to improve this part of CDS. The first one is, for those of you that have used Dynamics CE, what does this number mean to you? Yes. Yes, or it's a Kiefer Sutherland adventure show that was finally canceled. I'll make the little beep, boop, boop sound to go along with it. But yes, it used to be every 24 hours you would get signed out of the service no matter what. And people hated this. Your salesperson's there working, and all of a sudden, bloop, sorry, you have to go log in, right? It was horrible. And so we've gotten rid of that. What we've done is we have changed our service so that you can still configure a maximum timeout that overrides what's configured in AAD on an environment by environment basis. But by default, we now honor access token and refresh token expiration times as defined in Azure Active Directory. And this is hugely powerful. So the 24-hour maximum session timeout has been eliminated so that all of your users are not forced to sign in every 24 hours. We honor the Azure AD session policy, and this is configurable as well. And there's a bunch of other cool, nifty things that you can do as a result of this integration that I'm not going to go into, but Paul will touch on tomorrow afternoon. The next thing that we invested very, very heavily into around making CDS and Azure Active Directory work well together is how do we respect the AAD graph? How many of your customers use AAD? Oh, come on, guys. If you're using CDS, you're using AAD, or if you're using Dynamics, you're using AAD. Okay. How many of your customers use groups in AAD? How many of you have written custom code that iterates through all those groups and adds all those users to CDS or Dynamics? How many of you thought that was a fun experience and something you'd like to repeat? Okay, the laughter I'm going to say, guess is no. And then, because we all need to share apps and data with more than one person, right? And then what about, we talked about that one platform thing together, bringing together this portfolio of cool products. What does it mean for me to try to share a CDS data with Canvas application with flows? The answer is it used to be really stinking horrible. And so we've dramatically improved that into 3 simple steps. Step number 1 is create a group in Azure AD. Optionally, you can add members in that group. Well, I guess for it to work, you would need to add members to the group, but that's neither here nor there. Item number 2, create a security role for your application in CDS. Optional if, of course, the security role that you already want exists in CDS. Item number 3, share the app and assign the security role, at which point in time the user can go in and use the app. Now, one of the important things here is how many of you have seen the user table that exists in CE? That table still exists. We still maintain referential integrity with that table. However, there's a big difference in that in the past, that user had to be synced in there before they could use the system, and sometimes that took a little bit of time. We now implement what we call user JIT, in that once the user has access, either via direct user assignment or via group assignment, we will turn around and the first time the service sees that user, if they don't already exist in CDS, we will JIT them into the environment. So this should dramatically simplify user management for you on 2 fronts. Number 1 is you no longer have to add each and every user to your CDS environment. And then number 2, when you do add folks to the environment, they will be JITted in on demand rather than you needing to wait for some sort of user sync. So we hope that this really, 1, eliminates a class of pain points, and then 2, reduces a class of pain points that we've heard from you and our other customers kind of stink today, because we don't like things to stink. And so let me show you how this works. Now, I do worry a little bit this demo might be a little underwhelming, because you're going to say, wait a second, it just worked. But I'm going to go to my Azure portal. I'm going to pull up a group. And so here I have 2 groups that I've created. Oh, looks like my filter was slightly more granular. I don't want to be a liar. There, I have 2 groups in my system, but I'm going to pick this one right here. And so within this group, I can go view its members. And so you can see I've got Charles, I've got Paul, I've got Ryan in here. I could add a member. So let's be real here. Just in case something goes wrong, I'm going to add somebody who knows better than I do. I'm going to add Nirav to that group so he can help us with this particular application. I'm then going to go over to my Maker portal, I cancel, and then I'm going to browse to the app that I want to share. And for giggles, I'm going to share this app here. I'm going to select share. I'm now going to search for my group name. And so now I can go in and it kind of guesses which things it needs to work with. However, that's not always like necessarily 100% accurate. And so I can go in and then actually specifically specify the roles that are needed. And so for this photo app, it's selected photographers. So I'm good there. And I'm going to click share. And so now I have shared the embedded photos viewer with the app with the users, as well as assigned the photographer's role to this particular group. And so now anybody that is in that group can interact with that application and that data. And so granted, I understand this was a group with only 4 members in it, but for example, our CAP FTE all group has over 1,000 members in it. I'd be clicking for a long time adding those users to the system if I didn't have something like this. So something that we feel is pretty powerful and hopefully will reduce a lot of pain for you and our other customers. And I know that it's kind of a weird demo because it's like, wait a second, that's it? But yeah, that's it. We really tried to make it simple and easy. The other thing is, as people build PowerApps, this really makes it much easier for them to share those PowerApps with their coworkers, their team members, the people that they want to interact with those apps. And so I've really only scratched the surface here as well. And so Paul is giving a session tomorrow on identity and sharing with the Common Data Service. He's going to deep dive into all the session management stuff. He's also got an awesome section on how to configure conditional access for very rich authentication scenarios, so that like when your employee goes across the street to Starbucks, they can't continue to use the service if they're not on CorpNet, those sorts of things. And then also he's talking in depth about the group features as well and how that fits with how inheritance works and all that fun stuff. This was just me showing the simple version of what we have. So next topic, I want to talk a little bit about how we can improve our engineering systems and engineering processes around apps. And some people, when I say engineering, they kind of like, oh, we're just makers, we're not engineers. That's okay. Makers need, we'll call them maker systems rather than engineering systems, okay? And so how do I capture application configuration as code? How do I support those applications end-to-end through their life cycle? How do I build and deploy my code at scale? And so, of course, we've had capabilities in the solution in the system called solutions. How many of you have worked with solutions before? Just about everybody, right? And you've seen how in recent times we've been bringing more and more the capabilities in the Power Platform into our solution system. But once you have those things in the solutions, what do you do with them? And to be completely honest with you, a lot of our tooling in this space historically has been quite weak, especially when you look at what the broader market is doing, like with Azure and Azure DevOps, or with AWS and their various code deploy, code pipeline, so on and so forth tooling. And so we really need to step up our game here. And so what we're doing is we're investing in application lifecycle management powered by Azure DevOps. And we see that there are really kind of three main steps to, there are phases of the application lifecycle that we want to make sure that we support. The first one is initiating the application. So how do I take an application that already exists and bring it into source control? Or how do I create an environment for developing a net new application? From there, we have what we call the build process, where we take those solutions and we convert them from unmanaged solutions into managed solutions, right? Sometimes we get into a bit of a religious debate about managed solutions versus unmanaged solutions. The reality is we actually need both, right? How many of you, when you bought Office, downloaded the source code from Microsoft and compiled it on your machine, right? Nobody. I mean, I guess if like you were using OpenOffice or something like that, you certainly could, but even most users of OpenOffice actually install compiled code. They don't compile it themselves, okay? And so the thing is, it's not, do I use unmanaged solutions or do I use managed solutions? It's actually, they serve a very different purpose, where unmanaged solutions are source and managed solutions are compiled code. And by building this part of the process, the build process, into your code pipeline or into your release management pipeline, we build a way where it's very, very easy for you to take unmanaged code, convert it into unmanaged solutions, convert them into managed solutions, and then move those managed solutions between your different environments so you have a very clear understanding of which code is running in which environments, so that you can improve the predictability of your application deployment processes across your dev test environments, to your testing environments, to your production environments. And then, of course, how do I actually handle the release and staging of those different parts of the system? And so the way this manifests itself is as a set of Azure DevOps tasks and templates that help you wire up these scenarios end to end, okay? Now, I don't have time to show you all of this today, but Shan and Per are going into this tomorrow. It's actually a workshop, it's not a session, and it's 2 hours, so I know that's a big time commitment, but you walk in and you'll have nothing. By the time you walk out, you will have an end-to-end pipeline built for handling build, release, so on and so forth for a given set of solutions and environments. So I would strongly, strongly encourage you to be here. In fact, most of my team is going to be in this session helping proctor and facilitate. So we think that this is one of the areas where we as a PowerApps Dynamics community have the most opportunity to grow in our skills. And so I'd strongly encourage you to participate in this tomorrow. Of course, if not, all of the tasks and templates will be released publicly here in the next several weeks or so. So now I want to go into how do we actually improve the quality of the code that we write. And so one of the things that we've seen is customer will call us up and say, hey, I've got code that's running very slowly. Or I'm sorry, they don't say I have code. They say my app's slow. Or they say, hey, Microsoft, my app's unreliable. And so we go in and we look in and we see what happens. And lots of times what we find is there are certain customizations that have been made that lend themselves to bad performance profiles, such as a saved query that retrieves all columns in the system when only 2 are needed, or things that return large record sets and then try to filter them on the client, or all sorts of things like this. And what's interesting is those artifacts are actually saved in CDS today. So we thought, wait a second, through static analysis, we can identify anti-patterns that will cause people's applications to run in a more unreliable state or in a slower state. And so what we've done is we've actually implemented the solution checker for PowerApps solutions. And so you can run this against your solutions and it will turn back and give you a grade, okay? How many of you are partners? Okay, how many of you are customers? Okay, okay. So I would strongly encourage both of you to, as partners, run this before you hand code over, and then as customers, run this when you accept code, because that way you can make sure that the code is running well before handoff occurs. So the other thing that we think about is there's always all sorts of changes going on in these environments. In some cases, these changes are things driven by Microsoft, where we're enhancing and improving the platform. In other cases, these are changes in the applications that are being built on a day-to-day basis. And I have to, while I'd like to think that we are perfect and we never break things, you guys know that's not the truth. And so what we've been thinking is, hey, how do we empower you guys to provide us with the tests that are critical to your business, so that if there's an issue, you can let us know, and so that we can, pull the emergency brake on the release train so that we can fix it for you and ensure that issue doesn't impact more customers. And so what we've done is we've introduced, it's very, very early, but the preview of our Bring Your Own Test framework. And so this is a set of APIs that allows you to define tests that we will run as we make changes in the platform, or that you can run on demand to make sure that we haven't broken you, but also this allows you to run tests to ensure that as you make changes to your solutions, you haven't broken yourself. And so this is something critical, right? If we were writing other types of software, how many of us would write software without tests? None of us, right? Well, this is something that's historically been missing. Somebody's laughing back there. He's like, no, I never write code without tests. You might be the guy that checks in at or deploys at 5 p.m. on Friday and then heads to the pub. But anyway, I'm messing with you. Thanks for being a good sport. But anyway, this is a big important part of what's needed in the platform to build high quality applications. And so we're excited to have this available to you. And then the other thing is, how can you observe what's going on in your environment on a day-to-day basis? And so how many of you remember Org Insights? Okay, not nearly enough of you, but maybe that highlights where we had a problem. We used to have this thing that you could install into your environment, and then it would collect all sorts of great telemetry and then give it back to you. You no longer have to go through and install the Org Insights solution. It's now there within the administrative portal, and this shows you things such as how many active users you have, what sort of API load they're doing, success rate, so on and so forth. Provides you all sorts of interesting statistics so that you can understand how your environments and applications are being used, and so that you can understand what's working well and what's working poorly. Now, I'm not going to be able to go into all the depth of how this works. However, you probably know what's next. There's somebody else who can. Those people are Brandon Simons and Varun Dewan. They're going to go into how to monitor and support PowerApps at scale. This is tomorrow as well. And so really excited to get these tools into your hands so that we can better understand, number one, how to build quality apps. Number two, understand how to prevent regressions. And item number three, be able to see and observe the usage patterns and see what things are going well versus what isn't going well in these applications. So the other thing I want to talk about, how many of you remembered about a year ago when we said, hey, mobile offline? Okay, generally available now. It's been a long time. We're very excited to have this in market. Mobile offline allows your users to continue interacting with data, so create, read, update, and delete even when they are disconnected from the network. So this is, a mobile scenario. So for iOS and Android, it allows you to access out-of-box and custom entities. You can perform CRUD and search against those entities. And you can work against the latest version of the data locally. And then when you lose connectivity, at that point, you'll be able to interact with kind of like a cached or offline version of the data. Now, we see that there are a couple of things that customers are looking for that aren't available yet and that we're working on. One is how to explicitly turn online, offline functionality on and off. And then the other thing is how do we enable notes and attachments and those sorts of things offline as well. And so there's actually a deep dive on mobile offline later today. Bala and Kavishi are covering this around how to enable disconnected model-driven applications. So from here, let's do it. Okay, awesome. These are the session times for all of the things that I plugged earlier. And guess what? I have a bit of extra time, so I can show you more demos now. I love doing demos, but I'm always worried I'm not going to be able to cover the other content first. So who wants to do more demos? Or should I make up some more slides? No? Okay. So the first thing I want to show you is some of our new solution capabilities. Let me put that up on the screen. There it goes. And so I'm going to browse down to here. Now, I want to let you guys in on a little secret. The way that that left bar is laid out is kind of confusing. Because even today when I came in, let's see, I did browse through a solution. A lot of people, when they think about how do I want to model entities, they go straight to data. It's an entity's data, right? However, when you go in through data, you end up creating those entities in the context of the default solution, which makes it very, very difficult for you to move that schema around between different environments, which is not necessarily what you want. And so I always recommend go down here to solutions and do everything from here. Because in this case, you're always able to be explicit about in which solution you want to be creating different application artifacts. The other thing that we've introduced is for certain capabilities, you had to create them from scratch in a solution. We have added the capability where you can go in and you can add existing artifacts to your solution from the new experience. And so I can go into here and I can say, hey, I want to add an app that exists or any of these things as well. Bring those into your solution. Now, let's assume for a moment that this application is done and complete. I can turn around and I can click export. And this is an area where all of these capabilities have existed actually for a while, but we didn't do a good job of stitching them together in the experience so that it steers you into the metaphorical pit of success. And so the first thing is, of course, we inform you, hey, if you haven't published all your changes, you should. And then we also will provide results from Solution Checker for your particular application. And so my Solution Checker ran last, on 5.6, so I'm clearly out of date. None of you customers should accept this solution from me until I run Solution Checker against it. So I'll then take next. I'm going to provide a version number. And then I can specify whether or not I want to export that solution as managed versus unmanaged. As we mentioned earlier, you can think of managed as being a compiled version of the code, while you think of unmanaged as being a custom version of the code. And so now I can click export, and it will now export the application as a solution. Okay, well, I'll get it here in a moment. It may just take a couple minutes. So we'll continue. Oh, there it goes. You see, there's my travel app, and it's good to go. So it did, in fact, export as a solution. The other thing that might be fun to take a look at is how we are bringing together some of the concepts that you've had from Canvas applications and model-driven applications. How many of you have embedded a Canvas app within a model-driven app before? Oh, wow, actually lots of you. Okay. Well, so for the other half of the room, can I show how that looks pretty quickly? So I'll just show you what it ends up looking like in the app. I'm going to browse to my model-driven app. Play the app. And by the way, there's the cool image that shows the places that we visited. Clearly not enough, but This is just a web resource embedded in the system, so not using the Canvas app embedding yet. But if I go to my countries and then pick a country here, like we will pick France. And so we see the information of note about France. We'll see the number of photos for that country. But what's loading over on the right-hand side is a Canvas application, which will display a gallery of the photos of our family from France. So hopefully it'll load here in a second. It won't make a liar of me. There it goes. And there's Heather and Hollis and Audrey reading stories underneath the Eiffel Tower. So that is embedding of Canvas apps and model-driven apps. The other thing that would be fun to take a look at is I can go into here, I can browse down to flows. And what I've done here is I've created a set of flows which will trigger based on things that run in the Common Data Service. Now these use the newer Common Data Service connector. I strongly encourage you guys to use that rather than the existing Dynamics 365 CE connector. There are a number of enhancements that we made around reliability, performance, so on and so forth that are only present in the CDS connector. And so if I take a look at this flow, what it does is it connects to my demo environment. It looks at the country's entity. And it is for when a record is updated. And so here it will email me and say, we just visited such and such country with a very clever body. And so if I ran this earlier, here I've got my Gmail account up. Sorry, it's already in the email because who knows what showed up in my mailbox since I last ran this. But you can see where I say, hey, it looks like we just visited the United States. Okay. An example of triggering flow using dynamic fields or parameters where it's using the country name to populate things in the email. And let's see, any other fun things to show you? I think that's actually about it. And so with that in mind, two things. Number one is if you liked the session, please evaluate it. If you didn't like the session, also please evaluate it, but please tell me why, because I want to make it better. Okay, and with that, I'd love to take questions with our remaining time. Any questions? I think I have to turn this thing on. Questions? Yes, sir. You guys can arm wrestle, and whoever wins gets to ask first. Great question. So to repeat the question, just so the folks on this side of the room can, on the far side of the room can hear. Question number one is modeling of connectors and connections within CDS, and then allowing model-driven apps to interact over the top of those. So the work is in flight today to make custom connectors and connections modeled as CDS components. So that work is under active coding now. The next part that we have to do is actually layering like the CDS data modeling constructs over the top of those connections. That work hasn't yet started, but is something that we know we need to do in the fullness of time. Now, one caveat that we want to give folks is when data resides in the Common Data Service, we generally understand how to write and run queries in a reasonably performant manner. When you start working with remote data sources, whether it's through VE, connectors, so on and so forth, there's a little bit less control there, and so there's some perf and availability risk that we want people to be aware of, because we're not looking to add a caching layer or availability layer or anything like that over the top of those remote connections. The second question that you asked was, when will Canvas applications respect managed versus unmanaged? That is a deficiency that we're keenly aware of and are working on as a part of just making Canvas apps like complete citizens, if you will, of the CDS environment. It's like now they are now properly, like they have proper paperwork and everything, but they're not like fully naturalized or whatever. I hope that's an okay metaphor to use. Maybe not the right one given the climate, but sorry, it's the metaphor that came to my mind. Other questions? Oh, so I'll work this way, okay? Yes, sir. Yes, CDS versus Dynamics connector. I would recommend using the CDS connector everywhere. Like even especially in the context of Power BI and Power BI data flows, we made a bunch of performance enhancements to the connector that really started permitting like 10x the throughput. So I'd really strongly recommend using the CDS connector wherever possible. And if you encounter an issue that precludes you from using or prevents you from using the CDS connector, please let us know because we'd like to fill that. There's a gentleman right here.
Yes, in the maker experience in the CDS. Okay, there's still bits and pieces that are like in the old classic Dynamics look and feel. Like, what's the timeline to actually cover everything in the design and the maker experience? Yeah.
Great question. So what's the timeline for the new Maker experience being able to support everything that was in the old Solution Explorer? So I would say 95, 99% of the stuff will be in the new Maker experience by the end of the calendar year. But there are some things that we probably won't bring over because not everything in Solution Explorer worked the way you would expect it to. And so there's certain places where we don't want to bring like debt, if you will, along with this. Did I answer your question? Okay. Any more? We're working our way. Yes, sir.
Hi. So question is following. Solution Checker, first thing, Solution Checker is awesome. Really like it. But in several situations, I experienced false positives.
Okay.
Who to blame?
Okay. So let me know the things that were false positives, and we'll take a look.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you. Because with Solution Checker, we have lots of parts of CDS that are contributed by different teams. And so I can help route it to the team that built the rule that was causing false positives. Okay, okay. Yeah, happy to take a look. You're so patient.
Thank you.
Oh, you have a working mic.
I already have a mic. The question was about the new CDS attachment file storage versus SharePoint, which we used to always in CRM make you attach to SharePoint to put those attachments in, which was a little disjointed. So do we have to go so far as to stuff things in SharePoint anymore?
I would say it depends on your scenario. And I know that's a very like consultant type answer to give, and so I apologize. Not that there's anything wrong with being a consultant, because it does depend. The thing is, like, if I think about SharePoint or scenarios where SharePoint excels, think about collaboration, think about concurrent document editing, think about document versioning, things where you have to have a very rich understanding of what's in the document itself. But the risk of kind of doing that is you always have this weird dissonance, if you will, between the security models in SharePoint versus the security models that are already defined in CDS. When we look at the sorts of things that we think will go well into CDS, these are things that, of course, might not be Office documents. And then where it's really important for you to have that consistent security, consistent access model, that single endpoint mode of interacting with that data. But when you do that, you do forego some of the, like, what I would call Office features. I mean, they're not Office features, they're Office features.
Well, typically the driver was cost.
So yes, and of course, you'll see that our file cost prices are significantly lower than they historically have been. There is still a delta between the two things because we find that people use their CDS space while many of the Office entitlements, people don't use them. And so we have to price differently based on utilization of what's purchased. But there is, you know, if you look at file storage, it's $2 a gig now, so significantly lower than what it's been historically. Thank you. Yes, sir.
About the versioning DevOps pipeline, like incrementing the versions of plugins, solutions, and stuff?
So there is a capability around versioning when you go from managed to unmanaged, incrementing the version there. They cover that in the workshop. For managing versions of plugins versus like everything else, That I know can be done, but I don't know if that's in any of the tasks that they're providing. I would recommend you attend the workshop tomorrow and find out.
The bring your own tests you mentioned before, where can we find the URL is not working?
I'm so sorry.
The mess is not working.
Is Brandon still back there? No, he stepped out. So 2 options. One is send me a mail. 2 is there's the session that Brandon and Varun are giving.
Okay.
I believe it was managing and supporting. Here, I'll go back. Whoa. Sorry. This screen is 1 slide off from that screen, so I know what's next. So the monitoring and supporting PowerApps at scale, that session right there. Catch Brandon. They're actually covering it in depth, and we'll do a demonstration there and say, hey, Brandon, your link doesn't work, your demo.
The concept of that is that you can publish unit.
I don't know if I would call them unit tests per se, probably more like just functional or integration tests, but yes, you can. And they'll be triggered either based on when you trigger them or we trigger them as well as a certain part of deployment testing.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
We are planning to build an API against
Maybe switch mics. That one's iffy. Sorry about that, sir.
That's okay. We are planning to build an API against a dynamic 365 system for a vertical that we have. So do you recommend us using a CDS for that?
Which
The
flavor
API
of
will be hosted in
Dynamics?
Azure systems, basically.
Yeah. So when you say you're building against Dynamics, are you using CE? Are you using finance and operations?
It's a CE.
Okay, just CE. So the thing that I guess, there are scenarios where people build their own APIs over the top of CDS, okay? But remember, dynamic CE data already lives 100% in CDS. Right. And so unless you're trying to expose the CDS data following some other like externally defined contract, I wouldn't necessarily expect there to be a lot of tremendous value in building an API layer over the top of the CDS API layer. Everything that is in CDS is already exposed via our OData interfaces, okay? But there are cases like, for example, something that we're investigating is for electronic healthcare records. There is a standard called FHIR that literally defines the protocol over which these pieces of data are exchanged. It's more than just a schema definition. It's also a wire protocol definition. And in those scenarios, yeah, it can make a lot of sense to build like an API shim over the top of CDS. Okay? So you can do it. I would just encourage you to only do it when necessary. Otherwise, you're just creating a whole bunch of work for yourself.
No, the bottom line is we are trying to simplify things for the end user to consume the API. So we are adding a layer in between once they start consuming the services, basically.
Okay, and how are your users consuming the API once it's exposed?
Probably via a web API or something like that. So we are trying to do something different over there to make it easy so that they can pump a lot of data back into the CRM system here.
Okay, got it. Might be interesting to understand a little bit more because with our connectors, the whole idea behind the connectors is a simplified API for people to interact with the system. This is what PowerApps Flow and Power BI use today. So you might want to look and see if that could help you with some of your scenarios. Because generally speaking, if someone's familiar with OData, they can consume, or even just basic RESTful patterns, they can consume the APIs that we already expose. So just take a look at what's there.
Got it. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, there are 2 different questions there. Question number 1 was, what about exposing open API documentation for APIs? That's something that we're looking at. We've actually prototyped it. It's just a matter of prioritizing the work and getting it done. And then the second question was exposing CDS through Graph, something that's not really on our roadmap at this time. Cool. We're getting kicked out, folks. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of the conference.